Every day, there are people all over the world looking to create better lives for themselves and their families. Not gurus or overnight millionaires. These are moms or retirees or college students, everyday people who are fed up with the 9 to 5 and realize there is another way. They are Amazon sellers, they're freedom builders, and these are their stories. All right, guys, on today's Jungle Scout Seller Stories, I'm joined by Ari and Chelsea, tuning in from Austin, Texas. How's it going today, guys? Why don't you start off by just telling the audience a little bit more about yourself, and then we'll get going.
Awesome. Hi, Greg. Good to be on the call. We are Ari and Chelsea Cohen from Austin, Texas, and we started our physical products Amazon seller business about 3 years ago, a little over 3 years ago. We actually were living in Southern California at the time. And then we moved to Austin after we quit our jobs, and we've been doing this full time for about 3 years. And last year we did over $1 million. We're growing.
Yeah, we've been able to travel a lot, make new friends, and really just kind of be our own boss and control our own lives. So it's been great.
Cool. Well, I want to hear more about that. But before we get into that, I want to kind of rewind to kind of go all the way back to the start. So what were you guys doing before you started selling on Amazon?
I was trying to get out of what I was doing. So I had recently left a job in finance, which was a super stressful job, managing other people's money. And so I recently left that, and I was working for a paleo recipe developer, actually, as an executive assistant. So that was kind of my first foray into online anything, really.
Kind of ironically, I was doing business consulting, but I didn't own my own business. I had failed at starting a business before, but I was doing business consulting for automotive repair shops, because that's kind of my things, like cars and,
Where did the shift happen into the Amazon business? What was kind of the fire behind that, or the reason behind it?
We had tried starting up and doing other small businesses before, primarily multi-level marketing, and it sucked. And, we kind of gave up on that after we spent a lot of money. And then 2014 rolled around. We kind of rebuilt some of our anxiety and our desire to try something new. And what happened at that point?
So at that point, we were looking for something, and we actually got roped into another multi-level marketing thing. And it was kind of one of those things where we're like, well, it's going to be different this time. And so we went and we were doing those, pizza parties where you're like, yay, come down here and, check out my deal. And on, every time we would talk to someone, this happened 3 times. They were like, that's great, but I'm going to be doing this thing on Amazon. So all my, resources are going to be tied up in that.
Okay.
So after about the 3rd person telling us that, we decided, maybe we should check this thing out. And we started Amazing Selling Machine, which was kind of the course that started it all.
Cool. So what year would that have been? Do you remember?
2014.
Yeah, just
2014.
Yeah,
okay.
May of 2014. Yeah. We signed up for the course. Within 7 weeks of starting the course, we sold our first unit. So we did all the sourcing and the first couple modules, sourced our first product, launched it. And within 30 days of selling that first product, we did 10,000 in sales, which gave us that wind under our sails. Wow.
Yeah.
I can actually do this. And
great momentum builder, right? Confidence booster.
Yeah. And it took probably about 3 months to fully replace our incomes just on one product.
But just off one product, you were able to replace both your incomes combined?
Yeah.
Wow. That's a good one.
Yeah. Doing about, I think, 35,000 a month on that one product.
So before we go any further though, let's dive into that a little bit deeper. So you guys invested quite a bit of cash because on the course and to get the inventory and to purchase your inventory. What was this? You guys had some savings, or you borrowed money for this?
We had a little bit of savings set aside, and so we had decided we wanted to go into business, and we had earmarked about $10,000 that we were willing to invest. The previous year, we had just paid down all of our debt and set aside some money, so that's where that came from. We spent about $8,000 total to start our business, so we didn't have to do the whole $10,000. We spent about $8,000.
The training course itself, the inventory, designing the packaging, photos, shipping, all that kind of stuff.
Mm-hmm.
All right. So then at what point did you decide to go all in and quit your jobs?
I think it was October 1st So we made our first sale on, I think it was July 21st, 2014. And I remember on October 1st, I gave my notice at my job.
The same year.
Yeah, same year. And she had
Nice.
already been, she was working part-time,
Yeah,
but it was a very flexible schedule.
I was working part-time. My boss was kind of like, I sense that there's something going on with you. And I was like, oh, well, yeah. So
I'm kind of checked out here.
yeah. So we kind of, both put in our notice at the same time, but we didn't actually, because of the positions that we were holding in the companies, we didn't actually leave our jobs until February of the following year. It took about 5 months for us each individually to be replaced.
It actually was a blessing in disguise because that gave us an opportunity to build up our savings a little bit and really make sure that we knew what we were doing.
So we had about 3 months of expenses saved up. And then we had projected with what we need personally and what we need business-wise and to keep growing, we needed about $30,000 in sales. So we made that 3 months in a row, and it wasn't, and not including Christmas. So that was the way that we gauged how to be able to do that.
So what did your friends and your family think when you said, we have these 2 good jobs right now, but we're quitting them and we're going to do this internet thing, this Amazon thing?
It was kind of mixed because they'd seen us struggle in MLM a couple of times. And they're kind of like, oh, cool, guys. Yeah, let me know how that goes for you. But, by the time that we did quit our jobs, they saw them, like, obviously they didn't look in our bank account, but they knew because we were very vocal about like, hey, this is really working.
Yeah, we had moved from an apartment to a house, rented a house. Yeah. And we were just kind of, things were changing for us a little bit. So I don't think we got very much, backlash. There's a lot of people that actually wanted to learn, what we were doing.
Right.
And, started, did the next course after that.
All right. So then you decided to take this full time. Only some of your friends and family thought you were crazy. You quit your jobs. And then what happened next? You stayed in Southern California?
Yeah, we stayed in Southern California for about another year. Excuse me. We had a couple of setbacks. I had a pretty bad motorcycle accident in 2015. And it took me several months to heal up from that. And then kind of at the end of that, we decided we want to get the heck out of here. So we came to Austin for one of Ryan Moran's events for Freedom Fastlane. He had like a next level workshop. We fell in love with Austin, and then we came back another time for a family reunion. And then we decided we're going to move here. We just love it, and we know all these people, and we're sick.
Great city for entrepreneurs too, right?
Yeah. It really is. Yeah.
Yeah.
We like the warm weather, the water, the
lower cost of living, much cheaper taxes in California. Yeah. A lot of good things about it, right?
A lot of good things.
Cool. Okay. So you mentioned like kind of the setbacks, like on as far as like your life goes. What type of setbacks have you had as far as the business goes? Because we all have them as entrepreneurs, right? It's part of it. Tell me a few of like the struggles that you guys have been through.
One of the struggles is that we have products that are in a very competitive space. Of course, almost anything on Amazon is competitive, but the prices, the retail price is low. Most of our stuff is under $20. So maintaining that profit margin as competition comes in has probably been our biggest struggle. And we're currently working on getting into higher priced products, even right now. So I would say that's probably one of the bigger struggles that we have.
For me, I think I totally agree with what Chelsea said, like thinking outside the box. We've gone back and forth on, should I focus on building a brand and chasing that rabbit hole into Facebook ads and branding everything and building your own website and spending tens of thousands of dollars on all this stuff to build a brand before the brand has proven itself to be worthy of investing into. Does that make sense?
Yeah, for sure.
And then the other side of that is we got too brand focused, where we thought, okay, we're in this niche. We can only launch products in this one little niche, instead of casting our net into different products in different niches that we really, really like, that meet all the criteria, that can make us tons of money.
Right.
And I think that stifled our growth a little bit. So we're pivoting now, and we're going to be launching a totally new brand, and we're we're so excited about where we're going now.
Yeah, and I think the last one is burnout. I think that I definitely mid last year got burnt out, and I think that's just not being creative and engaged in our brand that probably caused that.
Yeah.
Was doing all of the very clinical stuff and not doing the creative stuff. Thinking that we don't have time to do the creative stuff in our brand and not outsourcing the right things.
What does a typical workday look like for you guys?
So it varies, but like we'll usually really hit the ground running around 10 o'clock realistically. So I'll get up and exercise, make breakfast, do all that kind of stuff. Really start working around 10. And then we'll spend a couple hours on, checking email and checking the listings and doing things like that. We outsource a good chunk of other things. She works on a lot more of the creative stuff.
Mm-hmm.
And then depending on the day, we'll do, like product research or brand development. The cool thing about this job, to be honest, Greg, is every day is different. We don't have a very structured schedule, and that's exactly what we wanted. We didn't leave the corporate world to have some other corporate type job.
Right.
Sometimes we'll work a couple hours, sometimes we'll work all night. It really depends.
Yeah, and I still do our finances, which, I've outsourced that before and then I took it back because it wasn't being done properly and it was too expensive for what, they weren't taking enough off of my plate. So I'll do finances. We've been working a lot on, pay-per-click stuff. So on a daily basis, that's kind of some of the stuff that I do. Finance is probably once a week. And then once a week we'll do something creative. We're in the kitchen category. So, I just like today, made up a recipe, jotted it down and then photographed it.
Cool. I work with my wife. What are some of your experiences or challenges that you guys had working together? And do you have any tips for anyone else who works with a significant other?
I think getting over your own ego is really important, and don't try to be right. So making yourself right and making others wrong is a malady that we can tend to get into. So we try to really work on good communication. And another very important part of that is the division of hats. So dividing up the hats. And we actually created this thing called an organizing board. And it's up on the wall. I'm just going to take the computer and show it.
Yeah, let's see it.
Here it is. We have to make it a lot bigger. But this is, can you see that?
Yeah, I can see it.
Okay, so we've got all these different divisions, and then this is like literally every task in every division. And at the bottom is something called a valuable final product. So each division, like the executive division,
The microphone.
I'm just using it as a pointer. The executive division, division 1 is establishment, and then marketing and sales, financial, production, quality control, public relations. I won't take a lot of time on that, but that organization board has really helped us in terms of who works on what and ultimately who's the boss, right? So
yeah,
if she's in charge of marketing, I'm not going to get in her way and start, criticizing how she's handling the pay-per-click ads or something. And if I'm in charge of, quality control and customer service, she doesn't get on my case about, hey, why did you have our VA answer this email that way? Or why, but we coordinate on everything, but I think the division of responsibilities is very important.
I agree with that. That's actually one of the good lessons that I would echo about working with my wife, and really probably any partnership though. It's not just like working with your significant other. It's easy to kind of just have more conflict over things if it's not quite sure who owns that, or if you're both trying to and there's no kind of clear maybe person with kind of the final say on it or that kind of thing. So that's really good advice. I like that. Would you mind telling the listeners a little bit about where the company's at today, whether that's in number of SKUs or revenue or anything else you want to share?
Sure. Right this second, we've got about 12 SKUs, and we're actually working on liquidating isn't quite the right word, but phasing out of a couple of those. And then we're going to China next month to source a bunch, and then that's going to take growth to the next level. In terms of sales, we'll probably do about 1.5 this year. And like Chelsea said, we got to get into the more expensive products, which is going to help us to grow a lot faster. Because we've hit a kind of a cash flow issue where the lead times on our products and stuff take as long as they take, and there's only so much profit in each one of those sales. So you get the idea.
Yeah, absolutely. Fantastic. Congratulations on that. I know a lot of the listeners would are striving to hit those goals. So congratulations, first of all. Have you been to China before?
We have not.
First
No,
time.
this is gonna be our first time.
Yeah.
So I think from what I've heard, it's going to be a game changer.
I think I sold on Amazon for two or 3 years before ever going to China. I was just going to ask you, what are your motivations for going to China?
Finding products that, maybe haven't hit the US that would be of benefit to our, customer base, and then also to improve our pricing. So, we have heard that you can get, 10 to 30% lower in your product pricing when you go to China than just dealing on Alibaba. So that's something that we're really looking forward to, because we can immediately put thousands of dollars per month in our pocket just by going to China and, finding something at, 10 or even 15, or even 40 cents cheaper than what we're paying right now.
Most of the times you find suppliers on Alibaba, they're not actual manufacturers. They're middlemen. They're trade companies. And the trading companies have to mark up those products to make money because they're running a business just like you are. But they speak Chinese and they speak English, and they're the go-between guy. So once you've kind of maxed out that business model, and it's a very slow product launch research process. When you go on Alibaba, you find 20, 30 companies supposedly that have this product. You email all of them, all the back and forth. Our goal is to have like 4 or 5 direct manufacturers that we're working with. And when we want to launch a new product, we just shoot them an email. They know us. We've had dinner with them. We've already negotiated terms. We've built that trust. From what I've heard, the Chinese culture is very big on honor and relationships.
And I think everything you said, I would agree with. Now I've been to China a few times. If I were to give a few tips, it'd be also to do factory visits for where you've already the people who you already have relationships with. I thought that was like one of the biggest benefits just for me is like you just like better understand like manufacturing and therefore like manufacturing culture, which is like a really like valuable business experience. Like when you're in like kind of this game, right? It's like, okay, like,
Yeah.
Like back before when I was just like on Skype Messenger, I was like, why can't I get this done fast? And it's like, okay, like you go to the factories, you kind of see the production line. It's like, all right, this makes sense.
Yeah, which brings up one more point, really important, that I've heard from several really big sellers, is that when you visit the factories directly, you can improve a product, and you can actually. So if you're selling a silicone spatula and everyone's selling the same silicone spatula, and you find the one common negative review across all of them is that it's too narrow or something, you can actually go and work with the manufacturer and improve the product, and then that is your unique selling proposition. So product development makes a big difference.
So what are some of the things that you guys worry about now? What kind of still keeps you up at night? And, at this point, like, you've built a successful business. I'm sure it makes plenty of money for you guys to live like, a high quality life on. Like what kind of worries do you like still have? And, what keeps you up at night?
I mean, I guess the number one worry for every Amazon seller is, your account is suspended or a big selling product is suspended. So that's one of those given worries, I guess.
If you play by all of Amazon's rules, you're not doing anything shady like buying reviews or whatever else. Do you think the worries for getting your account suspended or I shouldn't say suspended, but suspended then not reinstated, do you think those worries are founded?
You can get suspended. We have gotten suspended. It was for a 6-hour period, and it was because they were missing some information about him.
Right.
Just, I don't think it's very founded, but at the same time, that's stuff that does happen, and it does start to take money out of your pocket. So that the longer period of time that occurs, it does, put things at risk, especially in months where, like September and October, where you've got a bunch of money that has gone out to pay for your, Christmas inventory. Things get tighter, right before the holidays.
Right.
So that's probably the most stressful part of our year is this, 2-month stretch right here.
Right. Some of the challenges that we do deal with are like this week we've had 2 listings shut down. They're still
Right.
down right now. One of them was because we used a word in the listing that they don't like. And I've been emailing them. Another one is a common one that people are having right now, which is a customer complains that they got a used product when they ordered a new one,
Yep.
which is not something we do. We do not sell used inventory, but somehow an FBA person mixed in a used product into the new stuff. So, and there's just little things like that. And they take your listing down for a day or two. They always get back up. It's fine, but it does cut into your cash flow and it's annoying.
Yeah.
So those are some of the challenges. And then really just right now it's the thin profit margins, which is what we're working on.
You guys obviously understand like how to make products that sell well on Amazon, et cetera, et cetera. Usually what holds people back at that point is cash flow. Have you found anything to kind of help you guys with this? Have you utilized any lines of credit or anything else?
We have used Amazon lending, several times. We also used, I went through a company called Fundera, and they hooked me up with a company called Dealstruck, which is no longer around, but that was about last year. And we got what was called an inventory line of credit, where it only paid for inventory. And basically you sent your invoices to them and they would pay the invoices. And then this is actually, I just talked to Amazon Lending and I'm trying to convince them to do this. The great thing about Dealstruck at the time was they gave you 2 months where you only paid interest. So for the first 2 months of that line of credit, you only paid interest. And that's something that Amazon Lending is looking at doing down the road, which is amazing because, you're able to pay, you don't have to pay until your inventory is actually arriving. If you're doing 1 month is your production time and another month is, your ship by sea, then you're not paying until that inventory actually arrives to the US and you can start making money on it. The other thing that we have done for cash flow that has helped a lot is that we were able to negotiate terms with our supplier where
Nice.
we 30% down, 70% net 30. So
Nice.
we have, 30 days after, it arrives to, I believe arrives to LA, to the LA port, then we have to pay.
How long were you working with the factory before you were able to negotiate those terms?
I would say about a year and a half.
So you'd place at that point like 6 or 8, maybe 10 orders from them or something?
Yeah, and we got most of our products through this supplier.
Okay.
We paid a lot of money to them over, that year and a half to be able to warrant that.
This is a very cool and inspiring story. I like it. What do the next 3, 5, maybe 10 years look like for you guys? Do you think about that?
Yeah.
Oh, all the time, man. All we think about is the future and making things better. So like I said before, we like to do a lot of charitable work. We work with our church. We did a bunch of work with the Hurricane Harvey relief. We want to do more of that. That's actually a lot more fulfilling than selling stuff on Amazon, to be blunt. We also want to do more coaching and events to help people, like workshops. So we're building relationships with other masterminds to do those. And ultimately, we want to get into completely new business models like real estate. And we might wind up selling one of the brands and take a big windfall and just invest it in other things beyond e-commerce.
We're also looking into, Airbnb businesses and stuff like that. So, this isn't the end game.
Right.
I'm also a writer. I'd love to, publish, be published someday. So there's other things. It's Amazon is a launch pad. Amazon is the best opportunity to make a lot of money, to really completely change your situation for, really not that much investment, $10,000. I mean, that's not anything compared to what some people are sinking into businesses.
Right. If we were to go to start a Subway or a brick and mortar company, right? $10,000 would be nothing. I think once said that I think Amazon would be a good opportunity for another 5, maybe even 10 years down the road for people like us. And someone said, well, if I quit my job now and I only sell on and Amazon's only a good opportunity for the next 5 or 10 years, what happens then? What would you tell someone who kind of had that question or that mindset?
I would tell them that if you're only planning on selling on Amazon and that's as far as you can see, don't quit your job, because that's a very short-term, very small business model. We don't only sell on Amazon. We also have our website. We also have jet.com. We also have Walmart, and we're building other sources of income beyond just the physical products. But you could quit your job and only sell on Amazon for the next 2 or 3 years. I'm not going to claim to predict the future, but there's a ton of opportunity there.
I will also say we have never heard any statistics to tell us that the Amazon opportunity is going away.
No, yeah, I totally agree.
The statistics are always, increasing. And when you get into markets like Walmart and Jet, they're really horrible, actually.
That's a good point.
They're not, they're not great. I mean, Amazon treats their, as much as we complain about Amazon, they treat their customers or their sellers very well compared to Walmart. Walmart, we have products we can't sell because it's not profitable, because they try to compete with Amazon's Prime, but they make us foot the bill for it. So there are lots of different things that other companies aren't getting right. Amazon is the one that's doing it the best. And the people that are trying to compete, the Walmarts of the world, are really falling very short.
I keep thinking that like they're going to like start doing better, but it seems just like every month that goes by, they just fall like further and further behind, and like Amazon's just taking over the world, right?
Yeah, but the one thing to sum up like what to do to sort of take attention off of what if Amazon goes away, and I will give Ryan Moran 100% credit for this, and we're working on this. We need to work on it a lot better, is you build an audience. You build an audience of rabid fans, and then you control those eyeballs, and it's no longer about what Amazon traffic sends to you. It's about, I've built a brand around this customer. I launch products that particular customer likes, and I continue growing my brand that way. And
but then the customers go where you go, rather than, that you're just, taking what Amazon will give you.
This has been really good, really inspiring. What kind of tips would you have for any of the audience who is in the position that you guys were in a few years ago? Maybe they're still like working jobs. They're looking for a way out. Maybe they just started selling on Amazon, or they haven't quite yet. What like lessons have you learned, or like knowledge could you share with them?
I mean, I would say people who haven't yet quit their jobs, or maybe they're still, thinking about it or looking for a product. The biggest benefit that we took to starting our business and really taking off quickly is that we acted on it. We found the product, and we, from the point we started that course that we took to the point that we, made our first sale, it was only 7 weeks. We were extremely fast, to be the first one out the gate. If you see an opportunity, instead of, wondering for the next, month or two, if it's going to be the right opportunity, if that product is going to be the right product for you, there's someone else who's already, placed their order and is about to launch the product. So, you should be that person. You be the first one out the gate. You get on page one as quickly as possible. You get reviews. Don't be afraid to lose some money in the short term, to really rank your product and make a lot of money, long term. That's a big thing that we see people make a mistake. They only buy 200 units of a product. We say 500 to 1,000 you should start with. So those are two things. Make a decision quickly, and then also don't be afraid to go
be bullish.
Yeah. And then my advice would be, in addition to that, to continue to launch products and don't rest on your laurels and get comfortable. We got pretty comfortable, if I'm honest, for about a year or two, and it was fine. We could travel, we could do whatever we want, whenever we want, didn't have a boss. We were traveling 6 months out of the year, I think, last year. It was crazy.
Yeah, it was crazy.
And, but still working, just not very much. And I would, if I could do it again, I would work a little bit more and take my vacations, but shorter ones, a little less often, launch products more consistently, and get your SOPs in place, your standard operating procedures. So it's more systematic and it's less loosey-goosey and, well, what do I feel like? Just take this much money, put it aside for the next product, budget that out, and always do product research using Jungle Scout.
All right.
And I would say the last thing is really know your numbers. A lot of people run their business without knowing how much money there is going out each month. That plays a big factor in whether you're profitable or not. So really know your numbers, and don't make the cost of goods sold every month invisible by not tracking it. That's a common thing that people do for years and years in their business.
Give us a little bit of more like insight to kind of like your life now, like not necessarily related to the business, but kind of like how your life has changed. Like what has changed from back when you like had that job? It sounded like you traveled for 6 months last year, which is pretty amazing. Like you couldn't have done that with a corporate job, but what else has kind of like changed in like your day to day, your monthly life?
Before we did this business, one of my big goals was to know a lot of people in a lot of different places. I just thought it would be really cool to know people all around the country, that you could just, visit or whatever. And that is true now. We know people all over the country.
How did you meet those people?
Through events,
Cool.
Amazon, Amazon sellers events. So we know a lot of people, and we know a lot of people that are succeeding. So I think the favorite thing that's changed in our life is the caliber of people that we're around, are always pushing us to, to think bigger and to do more, both, charitably and in business, and personally. And that's, I think, my favorite part is to be around people who have the ambition and have actually accomplished things. They've succeeded. And so it's inspiring, and it's also, it's just encouraging. We made it a policy of ours to actually go to an event every quarter at least, because we noticed when we didn't, the energy and the excitement for the business kind of faded.
Yeah.
So,
especially when you're working from home.
Yeah. So you re-engage in the business, and you get more excited. And then you just, I call it crowdsourcing information. You can crowdsource information and figure things out, and you make more friends. You help more people help you.
Yeah.
That's a big thing, I would say, for anyone, on the call.
And for me, the biggest change in myself is I'm a lot less selfish. So once the basic needs are covered for a while, and you've traveled and you've done the stuff, you buy the cool car, all that, you kind of like, this is not that exciting anymore. I need to feel alive, and how I feel alive is by helping other people. And that doesn't mean that I spend all day just answering people's emails about, hey, can you look at my listing? No, the answer. But like, we built a website, and we put a lot of content on there. We'll speak at events, we'll do like coaching calls and different things like that. And then, work with our church, and giving back in that way is huge.
Yeah.
Yeah, I saw this like really interesting graph once that I forgot. It's like, but essentially like the gist of it was like, once you kind of like hit this point where like you have plenty of money to live like the quality of life that you'd like, which for most people isn't really that much money, right? Like I think like a survey I saw between like $5,000 and $10,000 a month for most people, and they could like, like live better than like what they expected. After that, it's like, okay, like where do I really want to be devoting my time to each day? Maybe like my Amazon business isn't like the thing that like I'm most passionate about, but maybe it's the fuel that I need to have cash to do other types of things, or just to have the freedom of my time to spend, doing other things. I think that's totally true. Well, guys, I really appreciate you coming on and doing this. Your story is very inspiring. I'm sure all of the audience and the listeners really enjoy hearing it. If they do want to get in touch with you or see kind of any of the other stuff you do, do you have a few links you want to give them, or anything else you kind of want to share?
The main one would be badassbusinessbuilders.org.
All right.
So badassbusinessbuilders.org. It's just a fun website. It's totally free. We don't spam you or anything like that, but it is membership based. So.
Yeah, it's a free membership site. And basically we do videos on when people say, oh, they're doing training courses, but there's some piece missing, or there's something that we do that has been successful that isn't really taught anywhere. We'll kind of throw up a video or something like that.
Yeah.
It's
cool.
Helpful.
Yeah. And if there's anything missing on the site, you're like, hey, I'd really like more training on blah, shoot us an email. There's a contact page, and then we'll add more. And obviously Facebook is a good way to connect.
Yeah.
Awesome.
Okay.
Ari and Chelsea, thanks again for coming on. Much appreciated. And hope you have a good rest of the day.
Great. You too.
A lot of fun.